女士们、先生们，大
Ladies
家
and
下午好。
gentlemen, good
欢
afternoon.
迎出席中
Welcome
共中央
to
宣传部新闻
the
发布会。
Publicity
今
Department
天我们
of
举
the
行中国这10年系
CPC
列主
Central
题新闻发布
Committee's
会的
press
第
conference.
31场。
Today we'll
我
have
们非常高
31st
兴
press
邀
conference
请到
themed China in the
住房
past
城乡
decade.
建设
We're
部
we're
副
honored
部
to be
长
joined by
江万荣
Vice
先生。
Minister of the Ministry of Housing
请
and
他为大家
Urban
介
Rural
绍
Development,
新
Mr.
时代
Jiang Wanrong,
住房和
to
城
share
乡
with
建
us
设事业高质
the
量发展
progress
举
in the
措和
new
成效有关情
era
况，并回
about
答大家
housing
感
and
兴
rural
趣的
urban
问题。
development and
出
answer
席
your
今天新
questions.
闻发布会的还
We are
有
also glad to be
住房
joined
城乡建设部
by
总工程
Chief
师李
Engineer
如生先生、
Mr. Li Rusheng,
办公厅主任
Director of the
李小
General
龙先
Office
生、
of the Ministry Mr. Li Xiaolong,
新闻发言人、住房改革与发
and
展司司长
Spokesperson,
王胜军先
Director
生。
General of Department of Housing Reform
下面我们首先请
Development
江万荣先生
of
做
the
介绍。
Ministry, Mr. Wang Shengjun. Now the floor is yours, Mr. Jiang Wanrong.
女士们、先生们、
Ladies and
媒体界的
gentlemen,
各位朋友们，
friends from the
大家
press,
下午好。
good afternoon.
很高兴在党的20大
It gives me great
即将召开
pleasure
之际
to
出席
join
今
you
天下午的
today's
新
news
闻发布会，
conference in the lead up to the
也感谢
party's
中学部给我们这样一个
20th National
机会
Congress.
让我们来介绍
I really
近
value
10
this
年
occasion
来
to share with
住
you
房和城乡建
the
设
progress
发展的历程和取得
of
的成
China's
就，
development in housing and rural
并
urban
和我
development.
的几位同事一起来
And
回
later,
答大家
I will
关
be
心
honored to
和关注的问题。
join my colleagues and answer your questions.
首先，我代表住房和城乡建设部
Before I move on, I'd like to
感谢
extend
大
our
家长
heartfelt
期以
thanks to
来
all of you
对住房和城乡建设事业的关心和支
for
持。
your care and
党
support
的18大以
for
来
China's housing and rural urban development.
对
Since
住
the
房和城
18th
乡建设事
CPC
业
National
提
Congress,
出了
General
一
Xi
系
Jinping
列
has put forward a host
重
of
要的
new
指示
concepts,
批示，
guidance,
提出了一系
instructions,
列新思想，
and new ideas and strategies.
为我们做好住房城
They
乡
have
建设
provided
工
us
作
with
提供了
basic
科学
guidance
指引和根本遵循。
on housing and urban
在党中
rural
央国务院的
development
接洽领导下，
under the strong leadership of the CPC Central Committee with Comrade Xi Jinping at its
全
core.
行业
The Ministry of Housing and Urban Rural Development has motivated and guided the whole system and
深
industry
掘笃行，
to
正抓
understand
实干，
and
努
implement
力建设
the
达
thoughts.
美城乡，
We have striven to build a beautiful city and countryside to meet the housing needs of all people and to achieve historic progress in housing and urban rural development.
这10年
The past
自我国
decade
历史上
witnessed a
保障性
period
安居
of
工
the
程建设
largest
规模
scale
最
of
大
construction and the
投资
largest
最多的
investment
10年，
in China's
亿万
history
百姓
concerning the
实现
construction of affordable
安居
housing.
梦想。我们把
Hundreds
加
of
快
millions
推
of
进
people
住
have
房
realized
保
their
障
dream
体
of
系
having
建
their
设
own home.
作为满
We've
足
made it
受
an
众
important
基
task
本住
to
房需
exhilarate
求
the
实
construction
现
of
全
government
体住
subsidized
住户
housing
所居的
to meet the
重要
basic
任务
housing needs of the
努
people.
力为百姓安居托底。住房保障
The
体系
system for affordable housing has been improved
保障性
and
住
the
房建设
construction has been steadily advanced.
棚户区改
The
造
renovation
大
of
力实
rundown
施
areas
住
has
房
been
公积金
vigorously
惠
implemented.
及穷
The
人
Housing Provident
逐步
Fund
扩大
has been gradually expanded.
住房保障
More
能力
people have
持续增
benefited
强
from the
10
program.
年来
Over the
累
past
计完
decade,
成投资14.8万亿，
about 14.8 trillion
建
yuan
设
has been
各类
invested,
保障性住房
more than
和棚户区改造安置住房5900多万套，
59 million sets of various types of government subsidized housing and renovated rundown housing have been built. Low-income families with housing difficulties have basically been fully covered, and more than 140 million people have realized their dream of having their own place to live.
最快
The past decade witnessed a period of the fastest development of China's real estate industry and the improvement of the real estate market.
居住条件显著
The living
改善
conditions of the people have improved
我们牢牢把
significantly.
握房子是用来住的，不是
We are
用来
committed
炒的定位不
to
动摇
the commitment that houses are for living, not for speculation, and
促进房地
adopted
产市场
city-specific policies and guidance to promote the stable and healthy development of the real estate
长效机
market.
制
We have implemented a long-term mechanism for real estate development, put responsibilities on cities as the main body and provinces as the main
市
supervisor,
场监管体系，
established a sound real estate market supervision system, and steadfastly stabilized land prices, house prices, and expectations. In the past decade, the scale of housing supply continued to increase. A total of 14 billion square meters of commercial residential space sold, 2.2 times compared to the previous decade. The quality of housing has been gradually improved, with new housing featuring higher quality, more complete supporting facilities, and a more beautiful living environment. The past decade has witnessed a period of exhilarated transformation of China's urban development. Cities have become greener, safer, and more livable. We put people's living conditions front and center and leave the best resources to the people. We also improve the level of livelihood protection and public service, promote resource-intensive, resource-efficient, and green development, and strive to explore a path of high-quality urban development with Chinese characteristics. In the past decade, urban functions have improved and the urban living environment has been upgraded, and the level of urban governance has been raised. In 2021, the urbanization rate of Chinese residents reached almost 65%, and the built-up areas covered 62,000 square kilometers. 98% of urban families accessible to gas, 99.4% to water, 38.7% of built-up areas in cities is green space, and the per capita park green space is almost 15 square meters. The people are living more conveniently, comfortably, and better in the cities. The past decade witnessed a period of unprecedented rural construction and transformative changes in China's countryside. Rural citizens gained a greater sense of happiness and security. We carried out the task of poverty reduction and comprehensively promoted the revitalization of the countryside. We vigorously implemented the renovation of rundown areas in countryside, promoted rural construction initiatives, improved the rural living environment, and strived to build a beautiful and livable villages. Nationwide, over 23 million poverty-stricken population live in a safe house, historically solving the housing problems. More than 50,000 beautiful villages with local characteristics have been built. And the household waste of over 95% of the country's natural villages could be properly treated. Over 6,800 villages with important conservation value have been included in the list of traditional villages in China. And 520,000 traditional buildings, such as cultural relics, historical buildings, traditional dwellings, and temples, and ancestral halls have been protected, forming the world's largest group of agricultural civilization heritage with unparalleled scale and value. The past decade also witnessed a period of transformation upgrade for China's construction industry, moving from a major construction country to a strong one. China's construction continues to change the image of China. We have deepened the functional reform of the projects of the construction industry and reformed the approval system of construction projects, improved the regulatory system mechanism, strengthened quality and safety management, optimized the business environment, and promoted the coordinated development of intelligent construction and new construction. In the past decade, the construction industry has become a pillar industry of the national economy, and the quality of construction projects has steadily improved. In 2021, the total construction output reached 29.3 trillion yuan, 2.1 times that of 2012. The added value reached 8 trillion yuan, accounting for 7% of GDP, and more than 50 million people were employed by the construction industry. Projects such as the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge and the Beijing-Daxing International Airport and other world-class landmark projects have demonstrated the comprehensive strength of China construction. The past decade has been extraordinary. All the achievements are attributed to the strong leadership of the Party Central Committee with Comrade Xi Jinping at the core and the guidance of Xi Jinping thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics. The achievements brought together the wisdom and sweat of the builders of the new era and the strength of all sectors of society and the shared aspiration to build a better city and countryside. Standing on a new historical starting point, will closely focus on the central task of the party in the new era and take our due responsibility to write a new chapter of high-quality development of housing and urban-rural development. I will make greater and new contribution to building comprehensively a modern, strong socialist country and prepare for celebrate the convening of the party's 20th National Congress. Now we move on to questions.
In the past decade, the urban development achievement has been clear to all. Could you tell us what has been done by the ministry to improve urban management? What has been the progress? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. All of us live in cities, so we feel ourselves the changes and development in cities. I would like to turn this question over to Mr. Li. Work related to urban areas is important for the party and the country. Since the 18th National Congress of the CPC, General Secretary Xi Jinping has made a series of new instructions, new concepts, thoughts, and strategies. They tell us who is the urban development for and by, and answer what kind of cities we need to build and how to do that, serving as a fundamental guidance for high-quality urban development. In December 2015, after 37 years, the Central Urban Work Conference was held in Beijing, and the meeting made clear the general principle of urban work. It is another milestone in this respect and opening a new historic chapter. Over the past 10 years, we have taken people-centered approach. We focused on people's top concerns to create high-quality living space for our people and to make our city healthier, safer, and more livable. This decade has seen major improvement in our urban living environment. We have restored urban ecological environment and revived its dual functions. We renovated old urban communities, promoted garbage sorting, built urban landscaping, basically eliminated the polluted and smelly water in larger cities, making the cities more livable. Over the past decade, renovation has started in 163,000 old residential areas in urban areas, benefiting more than 28 million households. 297 cities at prefecture level and above had implemented waste sorting, covering 274,000 residential communities and 150 million households. The decade has witnessed a steady improvement in our city's comprehensive carrying capacity. So we have vigorously promoted the systemic development of urban infrastructure, developed new types of infrastructure, coordinated the development of urban underground space and municipal infrastructure. And my colleague has offered you some of the data on this. And over the past 10 years, our city enjoyed a more solid foundation for safety. We set an urban governance risk list and carry out a survey on security hazards of buildings and municipal facilities, promoted the building of Sponge City, with pilot projects in 75 cities. We have renovated 1,116 sections easily impacted by flood in 60 cities to systematically manage urban waterlogging. Over the decade, we have built a better system for urban work. We have established an assessment system to pin down and solve the root cause of city malaise. We have built City Information Model Platform and City Operation Management and Services Platform, and made steady progress in urban renewal campaign. Over the past 10 years, our progress is recognized in the world, and China has promoted the establishment by the United Nations of the World City Day and the Global Sustainable City Award or the Shanghai Award to strengthen exchanges and sharing among cities and advance the Global Development Initiative and the UN 2030 Development Agenda and jointly promote the sustainable development of cities worldwide. Thank you. Next question, please.
The
building industry and construction industry is an important industry. What has the ministry done to promote the development of the industry? Thank you.
As I said, China is now in the transition from a major construction country to a strong construction country. And a number of world-class projects are moving forward steadily, and I'll invite Chief Engineer Mr. Liu Rushen to answer your questions. Thank you. In the past decade, since the 18th CPC National Congress, we witnessed a key transition in China's construction industry, which demonstrated great strength. In the past decade, the added value of the construction industry has been increased to over 8 trillion yuan, accounting for more than 6.8% of the GDP. And its status as a pillar industry of the national economy has remained stable. In 2021, the total output of the construction industry reached over 29 trillion yuan, double that of 2012, and the industry employed over 52.5 million people, 10 million more than in 2012. And also we witnessed an upgrade in the level of technological innovation, labor skill, and construction safety and quality. Prefabricated buildings and also construction internet and other models and products have taken shape. In 2021, the country's new prefabricated building area reached 740 million square meters, accounting for 24.5% of new construction. In the past decade has also witnessed the strong support provided by the construction industry to urban infrastructure, housing, schools, hospitals, and the renovation of old districts and rundown areas, which have significantly changed the appearance of cities in rural areas. For example, urban rail transit construction. By 2021, the total mileage about 8,571 kilometers of rail transit were built by the end of 2021, more than 4 times of the number of 2012. Beijing Daxing International Airport, Hong Kong Zhuhai Macau Bridge, and the Huoshinshan Leishanshan hospitals represent and epitomize the progress of construction industry. The past decade also witnessed the overseas development of China construction. China has contracted projects of over 190 countries and regions across the world. Since 2013, the total turnover and the newly signed contract of China construction continue to increase. In 2021, 79 companies are listed in the world's top 250 largest international contractors. And the number of enterprises on the list and their business counting for the first place in the world consecutively since 2014. In 2019, President Xi Jinping said that China, made in China, China construction and China creation should work together and continue to change the appearance and image of China. This is not only a recognition of the progress of China's construction industry, but also shows the great hope exerted upon China's construction. Will continue to follow and driven by innovation, science and technology to upgrade China's construction and pursue high-quality development and make continuous and greater contribution to the sustainable development of the economy and society. Thank you. Next question, please. China News Agency. Safe house is an important part of poverty reduction. What has the ministry done to provide safe housing to rural poverty-stricken population? Thank you. I'll invite Chief Engineer Li to take this question.
刚才姜部长在前面介绍中也提到
In the opening remarks, Minister Jiang said that in poverty reduction, over 23 million households nationwide registered as poverty population have all lived in safe housing, which means the issue of safe housing of the poverty-stricken rural population has been solved. We're happy to see that the rural population has moved from clay and straw houses into brick ones. Their sense of happiness and security has greatly enhanced. We have done the following 4 aspects of work. First, about precise identification. We set a set of applicable standards to identify dilapidated housing in rural areas in categories A, B, C, and D. A is safe, B level is basically safe, and C is partially dangerous, and D is dangerous. So any houses categorized or examined as level C and D will be the target of renovation. Second, about the sense of responsibility. The provinces will be in full charge while the municipalities will take upon the job of implementation. The renovation work will be done mainly by farmers themselves but subsidized by government. For those who are in serious difficulty, we will give preferential policies. Third, provide professional expertise. We formulated applicable technological standards and guidance for renovation and construction, and provided tailored assistance and trainings for construction workers to make sure that the houses are disaster resistance and safe to live. We have also worked with relevant departments to make sure that every rural poverty household will be taken into our schemes, and work with village officials to work on every registered rural poverty-stricken household to make sure no one is left behind. Looking ahead, we'll consolidate and expand the achievement in poverty alleviation and continue to implement the renovation of rural dilapidated houses, speed up the establishment of a long-term mechanism, and strengthen the quality supervision of the renovation work so as to meet their growing needs for a better life. Next question, please.
这边吧，第3排这位女记者，对，是您。
谢谢主持人，我是长江日报的驻京记者。
Yangtze River
城市管理工作
Daily.
呢，与群众的利益密切相关。
Urban management is closely related to people's interests. General Secretary Xi Jinping pointed out that urban management should be as delicate as embroidery. What has been done by the ministry, and what is the progress?
We Chinese say that 30% construction, 70% management. Managing a city, especially mega cities, is not an easy job. And President Xi Jinping has made clear instructions in this aspect on multiple occasions. And I would like to invite Mr. Wang to answer this question. Thank you. In recent years, we have implemented General Secretary Xi Jinping's important instruction and made the special work plan on promoting refined management of cities and guided local authorities to further reform urban management law enforcement system to achieve refined management. And first, we have reformed the system, or the thread, so to speak. So a 4-tiered structure has been formed. My ministry has City Management Supervision Bureau. Provinces have specialized authorities. There are also competent authorities at the county level. Laws and regulations have been improved. And we have promulgated the law enforcement regulation in city management and technical standard of outdoor advertising facilities. We have tried to establish a diversified city management paradigm. And second, our effort is technology empowered, or the needle, so to speak. We have built the management services platform at the national, provincial, and city level to share information. Our decision and innovation are based on statistics. The national and provincial level platform are more about macro supervision, while the city level focus on implementation and assessment. Shanghai, Hangzhou, and Qingdao have a centralized platform that address the root cause of the problems, manage the whole process, sound the alarm, make emergency response, and provide comprehensive services. And number 3, we have a professional team. We have enhanced the basic skills and work ethics of the professionals, and we have made the regulation on law enforcement and city management and built relevant system. So we have a method to try to solve 70% of problems through services and 20% through management, and only 10% of the issues are managed through law enforcement. In our COVID-19 response and response to waterlogging, typhoon, and snowstorm, city management workers have been on the front line and made their contribution, and 3 of them have been awarded the title of model civil servants. And number 4 is that we have ensured smooth operation of cities, and we have made relevant standards, which is included in the assessment system. And we have improved city environment, focusing on alleyways, advertisement, and manhole cover and other long-existing problems. And we have been piloting a list of city governance risks and a monitor of safe operation of city infrastructure. And we also have monitor systems on gas, water supply, sewage, and other services. Thank you. Next question, please.
后面吧，第4排这位记者。
好，谢谢主持人。是 CNBC 记者提问。
Thank you from CNBC.
第一个，请问城乡住房短缺情况如何？
First of all, is there any shortage in urban and rural housing? How much more fund is needed? And what kind of measures will be taken to support housing and urban-rural development? And my second question, what will be the key point for the plan in urban and rural housing in the next 1 or 2 years? What will be the new opportunities for industries? Housing issue is followed by many, and I would also like to invite Mr. Wang to answer your question. Thank you. And just now, Minister Jiang, in his opening remarks, mentioned that in the past decade, some of the progress we made in this aspect. Since the reform and opening up, especially since the reform of urban housing system, China has accelerated housing construction and the supply of housing has been expanded. The shortage of housing has been gradually addressed. According to the 7th National Census, in 2020, household residence has a total area of over 50 billion cubic square meters. So the question is not about whether people have a place to live in, but they hope to live in a better home. And so we will respond to that and to ensure supply through multiple channels, and to improve design and construction, provide better services and management to meet people's growing needs for a better life. Over the past decade, the housing and urban rural development has seen rapid progress, and the scale of construction is relatively big. So when we look at the future, as for the amount of new projects, China is still in rapid urbanization with over 10 million new urban residents a year, bringing needs for housing infrastructure and public services. As for existing projects, Chinese cities are now in an important stage of urban renewal, and we have a lot to do in old community renovation and infrastructure upgrading. So if we take into account the existing and potential projects in the cities and those in rural areas, the scale will remain huge. Housing and urban rural development is a long-term task and a comprehensive project. Going forward, we will continue to implement the decisions of the CPC Central Committee and the State Council and work with all stakeholders to take a multi-pronged approach for supply-side structural reform and also in urban and rural renewal, and including providing more affordable housing for our residents to make new progress in this respect. Thank you.
第一排吧，第一排这位男记者。
您好，我是中央广播电视总台央视记者。我的那个问题呢，就是说，在
CCTV
18大以来呀，我国的住房保障事
Since
业
the
加快
18th
发展，
National
帮助了
Congress
很
of the
多这个城
CPC,
镇居民实现了这个
solid
安居
progress has been
请介绍一
made
下
in meeting
咱们
people's
这个
housing
接
needs,
部主要
helping
抓
a
了哪
large
些
number
方
of
面的
urban
工作，
residents.
取得了哪些这个具体的
And
指
could you
标？
please give
还有
us
一个
more
问题呢，就
details
是
about
说
the work
下一步
the
咱们
ministry
如
has
何做好
done
这个继续
and
做好住房
what
保障工作，
will be
加快解决
the
城镇
future
中低
steps
收入居民
to
和
help
新市民
solve
住房
housing
的
problems
这个
for
问题。
low
然
and
后
middle
在这些
income
问
urban
题上，咱们还
residents,
有一些
new
新的
urban
措施
residents, and young people. Thank you.
好，谢谢你的提问。
Thank you.
住房问题关系民生福祉，
Housing bears on people's
必
well-being.
须补好位。
The government must do what is necessary to meet people's needs.
市场体系
So we established two
那么保
systems,
障
the
体
market
系
system
更多的是
and
政府发
the
挥着
government
指挥的
supporting
作用。
system.
那么在这10年当中啊，
In the
在
past
下
10
这
years,
些方面，那么进行了不断的探索，
we have made explorations in the following
一是
aspects
加快
and
完
made
善
some
住房的
progress.
保障体系，
First, we have improved the housing service system to meet the basic needs of our
我们以
people.
满足群众的基本住
We
房
have
需求为重点，充分考
taken
虑
into
不
account
同群体的住房
the
条件，
housing conditions and affordability
研究建立
of different
住
groups
房的保障
and
体系。
established the
在充
system.
分调研论证总结
Based
其
on
治理经
service
验的
and
基础上
piloting, we
报经国务院同意，
have submitted
去年的6月，
for
国务院办公
approval
厅印发了
of the State
关于
Council,
加快发展
and
保障性
in
租赁住房的
June
意见，
2021, the State Council
第一次
issued the
明确
opinion
了
on accelerating the
国家
development
层面
of
住房
affordable
保障
housing.
体系
For the first
的
time,
设计，
made the top-level
提出了
design
加快完善
in this
公
respect,
租房保障性租赁
namely
住
to
房
build a system
共有
including
产
public
权住
rental
房为
housing,
主体的住房保障体
low-income
系
rental housing,
也就是
and
住房
housing
保障
with
体系
shared
里边主要含
property
3个方
rights.
面内容：公租房、保障性租赁住房和共有产权
So
住
these
房。
are basically the three pillars of the
为了
system.
把这个好事儿办好，我们会同有关部
To
门
deliver
建立了一
the
套
results,
较为完善的住房
we,
保
together
障
with relevant
政策和
departments,
管理制
have
度
put in place a complete set of policies and management systems, including financial, fiscal, taxation, and land policies, as well as mechanisms for access, use, exit, and operation
确保
of
让需要
affordable
帮助的
housing
住房
to ensure
困难
that
群
people
众
in need
能够真正受益。
will truly benefit from the policy.
第二个点呢，就是大力
And
推
second,
进棚户
We
区
have
改
vigorously
造
promoted the
让群
renovation
众
of rundown
出棚进
areas.
楼。2013年，
In 2013,
棚户区改造
the renovation entered a fast
国家
track,
连续3年
and the government
每年要
issued a
出台一个
document on rundown
关于
areas
加快
renovation
棚户区
each
改
year
造的
for
政策
3
性意
years
见
in a row,
对改造的数量、
setting out
配
clear
套建设
requirements on the amount of
提出了明确的
renovation
要
and
求
supporting facilities.
中央各部委密切配合，
In
密
close
集出台
coordination
了
with various
金融
ministries of the
支
central
持、
government,
税
a
费减
series
免、
of
资
policy
金补
measures have
助、
been rolled out,
土地
including
共赢、
financial measures,
专项
tax
债
cuts
券
and
等
exemptions,
一系列
central funding
强力的
subsidies,
政策措
and
施。
preferential land
在
supply
10
and
年
special
来，
bonds.
那么全国棚户区
Over the
改造
past
累计
decade,
开工
construction has
4300
begun on more
多万
than
套，帮助了
43
上
million
亿户的
units
棚户
in
区居
rundown
民
areas
改善
across
居
the
住条
country,
件
helping
实
over
现
100
安居
million
乐居。
people.
第三个措施
Third,
就是大力发
we
展
have vigorously
保障性
developed
租赁住房，助援
affordable
新市民
housing
青
to
年人的
help
安居梦。
new
我们
urban
知道
residents
督
and
促
young
地
people.
方加
We
快
have
发
guided
展
and
保
urged
障性
local
租赁
governments
住房，
to accelerate the
确定发
development
展目标，
of such
建立基
housing.
础制度，推
They
动
need to set
多方参
targets,
与，
establish
落实
basic
支持政
systems,
策，
promote
多
multi-party
主体、
participation,
多渠
and
道
implement
发展
supportive
保障性租
policies.
赁住房的格局已经初步形成。
Various stakeholders are pitching
2021
in
年以来
through
啊，
different
全国
channels.
建设筹集了
In 2021 and
330万套现
2022,
的保障性租赁住房，那么大约可解决
3.3
近
million
1000
units of
万
government
这
subsidized
种新市民
housing have
青
been
年
built
人的住房
nationwide,
困难。
helping nearly 10
15期间
million
40个重点
new
城市
urban
向
residents
建
and
设
young
筹
people.
集
During the
650
14th five-year
万套
plan
件的
period, 6.5 million
保障性租赁住房，
units
那么可
will
解
be
决
built
近2000万新市民青年人的
for
住房
nearly
困难。
20 million people.
第4项措施就是规范发展
Fourth, We have developed public rental housing to meet the basic needs of families with low income and facing housing problems. Over the past decade, the management of public rental housing has been strengthened. The supply has increased significantly, and the subsidy system has been improved. By the end of 2021, more than 38 million people had moved into public rental housing. By providing rental units and subsidies, we helped people solve their difficulties. 11.76 million people living on subsistence allowance or with low income, 5.08 million elderly people over the age of 60, 710,000 disabled people, 440,000 young teachers, 260,000 people entitled to veteran-related benefits, and 230,000 sanitation workers and public drivers have benefited. And we have also developed housing with shared property rights, in light of local conditions to help families with certain purchase capacity to own their own property. Since April 2014, we have launched pilot programs in 6 cities, including Beijing and Shanghai. By the end of 2021, Beijing has raised the fund for a total of about 83,000 units of such housing, and Shanghai has signed contracts on 136,000 units. It helped residents to own property right housing with a lower threshold, enhancing their sense of gain and happiness. Going forward, we will continue to implement the decision of the Party Central Committee and the State Council and focus on developing affordable housing, continue to improve the system, further standardize public housing development, and develop shared property right housing, renovate rundown areas, increase the supply of affordable housing to better meet people's basic housing needs. Thank you. Next question, please. Not only in cities, but also in countryside, we have seen significant changes. What will the ministry do for rural revitalization? Thank you. I would like to invite Mr. Li to answer this question. Thank you. We can see the mountains and rivers and hold our nostalgic feelings. This is actually our aspiration for countryside. And countryside has become a very popular tourist destination for our people. And since the 18th National Congress of the CPC, the ministry has implemented the important instructions of the General Secretary Xi Jinping, and we have taken further actions to build beautiful and livable rural areas, delivering encouraging progress. First, the management of rural housing and villages construction has been improved. We shared design expertise and held training for construction workers to make rural housing and villages more modern. And we have provided better infrastructure and public services facilities, protected the natural and cultural landscape. Rural living conditions have been significantly improved. A batch of diverse, beautiful rural areas have been built. Second, waste management in rural areas has been improved. We have guided localities to provide services at county, township, and village level. Over 90% of villages have a waste processing system, 60 percentage points higher than in 2012. We have cleared 24,000 random garbage sites. Nearly 1 billion cubic meters of garbage has been properly processed. And we have stepped up protection of traditional rural communities. We launched a project and listed 6,819 villages under protection. We have launched demonstration projects of protecting concentrated areas of rural residents, 520,000 historical buildings and residences, and 3,380 provincial and above-level intangible cultural heritage sites are protected. The largest cultural relics of agricultural civilization in the world is taking shape in China. And fourth, we have improved the assessment system. We assess rural areas in development level, residence building, village building, and town area building. We chose 117 sample towns in 28 provinces. Through such assessment, we took stock of the development of rural areas, located issues and weak links, providing important platform and tool for promoting rural development. Going forward, we will move on from poverty eradication to rural revitalization and make new progress in building beautiful rural areas. First, we will launch a rural housing quality and safety enhancement campaign to better design and build the housing, provide more functions and facilities to improve people's housing conditions. Second, we will guide local governments to build a better system of waste disposal and improve living environment. Third, we will better protect traditional rural areas. And fourth, we will conduct comprehensive assessment. And fifth, we will encourage people to participate in the process and enjoy the development progress. Thank you. Next question, please.
谢谢主持人。南方都市报恩视频记者提问：在过去10年，房地
In the
产
past
跟
decade,
老百姓的切身利益
the
和
real
经济社会
estate
发
bears
展
on
密
the
切相
immediate
关。
interest
那房地产快
of
速
our
的发展
people
也
and
对
economic
改善
development
群
of the
众住房
country,
条件发挥了很大的
and
作
it
用。
also
那
plays
请问
important
住
role
建
in
部
improving
在这
people's
方
living
面都采取
conditions.
了哪一些措
What
施？
has the
那
ministry
下一步
done,
我们在促进
and
房地
what
产
will
平
be
稳健康发
the
展，
next
特别
steps
涉
in
及保交
ensuring
楼这
steady
方面还有什么考虑？
and healthy development of the industry? Thank you.
说到房地产，我在来的路上看到这本纸上
On my way to today's press conference, I read a message about real estate
恨你又离不开你，
named
对房地产大家
"It's not easy to say love you, either to say hate you" about real estate market.
做一个介绍。
As for the detail, I invite Mr. Wang Shengjun to take your questions.
下面我介绍一下有关
I know real estate is of great interest to every one of you,
百姓的安居乐
and I would like to share with you
坚持房子是用来住的，
some aspects of
定位，
the progress
把实现全体
achieved
人民住
in the real estate market in the
目标
past
为
decade.
重要任务。
Since the 18th Party Congress,
多主体供给，
the party's
多渠
Central
道
Committee
保障
with Comrade
能够
Xi Jinping at its
根据
core
逐步完善，
has repeatedly emphasized that houses are for living and not for
成为社会
speculation.
共识。
It has taken the goal of meeting the housing needs of all of our people as an important reform task, gradually improving the housing system with various forms of housing supply.
坚决贯彻落实
And houses for living, not for speculation, this commitment has been welcomed by people across society.
民生上，稳妥实施房地产
The ministry has worked closely with various departments to resolutely implement the decisions and plans of the Party Central Committee and the State Council. The focus of real estate development has been put on ensuring people's livelihood, stabilizing land prices, housing prices expectations, and implementing a long-term real estate development mechanism. One city, one policy, to promote the stable and healthy development of the real estate market. First, establish a coordinated mechanism. We have maintained the consistency and stability and enhanced coordination and precision of real estate policies, supported rigid and improved housing demand, and curbed housing speculation. We have strengthened the management of residential land supply and established a dynamic mechanism between housing and land supply. The macro-prudential management of real estate finance has been improved, and a virtuous cycle between real estate and finance has been promoted. Second, we established a coordinated linkage between the ministry, provinces, and municipalities. Following the patterns of the real estate market, the ministry promises and municipalities have pooled efforts together. The policy toolbox has been fully utilized to apply targeted policies on different cities. Third, improve the monitoring and early warning mechanism, establish and improve the real estate market information system and monitoring system, carrying out monthly monitoring, quarterly evaluation, and annual assessment on a regular basis. For cities that have exceeded their control requirements, we send letters of early warning and launch supervision and urge the people's governments of municipalities to take effective measures to stabilize the market. Fourth, strengthen supervision of the real estate market. We have worked with relevant departments to carry out a 3-year campaign on maintaining market order, cracking down on illegal and irregular acts of real estate development, transactions, leasing, and property services. In accordance with the principle of effective but flexible management, we have strengthened the supervision of pre-sale funds of commercial houses. Looking ahead, we know that real estate concerns people's livelihood and development. We will continue to work with other departments to continue promoting the stable and healthy development of the real estate market, which could be summarized as 1, 2, 3, 4. First is to adhere to one positioning, that is, the house is for living, not for speculation. Second is to improve two systems, that is, the housing market system and housing security system. Third is to ensure stability in 3 aspects, namely stable land prices, stable housing prices, and stable expectations. Fourth is to improve the dynamic mechanism among 4 elements, namely people, houses, land, and funds. As for the delivery of buildings and houses, last month we worked with PBOC and other departments to support cities in need to advance the housing projects that have difficulties of delivery. Relevant work is underway. Thank you very much. Next question, please.
这边吧，第2排这位记者。
谢谢发言人。香港电影导报记者提问。
Hong Kong Economic Daily.
承载着中华民族的基因和血脉。
Historical and cultural heritages carry the gene of the Chinese nation. In the past decade, China has made great progress in protecting, using, and inheriting historical and cultural heritage. What has the ministry done to facilitate the work? I'll invite Mr. Li to answer this question. Thank you very much. Protecting and carrying forward historical cultural heritage is to fulfill responsibility of this history and responsibility to the people. We earnestly implement the important instructions of General Secretary Xi Jinping and continue to strengthen the work on protecting and carrying forward historical and cultural heritages. So far, there are 140 national historical and cultural cities, over 300 towns, over almost 500 historical and cultural villages, and almost 700 traditional villages. More than 1,200 historical and cultural districts have been designated, and almost 60,000 historical buildings have been identified, making them the most comprehensive and complete embodiments of Chinese traditional culture. First, we have built a protection and inheriting system and formed systemic protection paradigm. Following the categories of 5,000-year ancient Chinese civilization, 180-year modern history, 100 years since history since the founding of the CPC, 70 years since the founding of the People's Republic of China, and 40-year history since the reform and opening up of China. We select representative heritage within significant historical and cultural value. And last year, the Office of the CPC Central Committee and the State Council issued the opinions on strengthening the protection and heritage of history and culture in urban and rural development, identifying a clear system to protect and carry forward urban and rural historical and cultural heritages, including cities, villages, towns, districts, non-movable cultural relics, historical buildings, historical districts, as well as industrial heritages, non-tangible cultural heritages, and agricultural cultural heritages. Second, we promote preservation through commemoration. We actively carry out pilot projects to encourage more micro-renovation, because most traditional buildings are built with clay and straws. The less you renovate it or the less you use it, the less possible that it would be able to be herited and protected. So we now put those historical cultural resources to use and bring them to life by ways of commemorating those cultural relics with a view to protecting them. So we can and we have made some progress in some localities. Some localities have, by doing this, addressed the people's urgent concerns and expectations in conservation. Third, we have strengthened supervision and management. For the undesirable trend of some localities of massive construction and taking down historical ones but erecting replicas, we halted and reversed those undesirable trends in time and established a special evaluation system for the protection of historical cities and relics on a regular basis. And starting from this year, each city will be instructed to carry out self-evaluation once every year. Next, the ministry will work with other departments to speed up the improvement of the historical and cultural protection work so that cities and rural areas can retain their memories. Next question, please.
后面吧，第3排那位男记者，对。
Cover News. We know construction consumes much energy, thus has much ample room for energy conservation. What has the ministry done to facilitate energy conservation in construction industry? Energy conservation construction is an important area of reaching carbon emission goal of China. Indeed, construction is an important area in China's energy consumption and carbon emission, and an important driving force for achieving China's carbon peaking and carbon emission reduction and carbon neutrality. First, through promoting green buildings, the construction industry will be further expanded. The country's new green building area had grown from 4 million square meters in 2012 to 2 billion square meters in 2021. And in 2021 alone, the proportion of new green buildings in cities and towns reached 84% of new buildings that year, with a total of 25,000 green building projects and over 2,000 building materials receiving the Green Building Material Certificate. And the industrial chain has been further extended. Second, through energy conservation, the life will get better. We have vigorously promoted energy conservation in construction. And the energy efficient buildings in cities and towns reached
从监测的结果看，
27.7
经过
billion
节
square
能改
meters.
造的居住建筑，冬季的室内温度能提升3到5度。
From the statistics, the indoor temperature of the renovated buildings can be raised by 2 to 5 degrees in winter and lowered by 2 to 3 degrees in summer.
调整，让居民环境变绿。截止到2021年末，
To make the life
建筑太阳能
more
光热
sustainable
应
and
用面
greener
积
through
达到了
energy conservation.
50.66亿平方米。太阳能光伏
By the end of
装机容量
2021, China's
达到了
solar
1.82
application heat
万
collection
兆
area reached over 5 billion square meters, and the
应用
installed
建筑面
capacity
积
of solar PV
约
power generation for building
4.67
application is over
城镇建筑可再生能源
18,000
替代率
kilowatt,
达到
and the
6%。
geothermal energy
有效
application
地减少
construction
了碳
area
排
of
放。
about
四是呢，
467 million
通过
square
提
meters.
升建筑节能标准，
66%
让
of
产业
energy
竞
has
争力
been
变强。
replaced with renewable energy in
我
urban
们先
buildings.
后颁布实施
Fourth is
建筑节
the
能和可再生能源利
regulatory
用的通
system
用规范，
of green buildings has further built up the capacity.
近零能耗
We
建
have
筑技术标
implemented
准，
a
绿色
set
产
of
品评价人造板
guidelines
和物
and
质地板
technological
等一系
standards
列建筑节能、
of
绿
construction
色建
areas
筑和绿色建材
to promote
标准
energy
规范，
conservation and
提
green
升了
buildings
建筑产业的
in the
竞争力，
industry,
为中国
and
建
thus
造走出
increasing the
去
competitiveness
创造了
of
条件。
China's construction
下一步
industry.
呢，我们将坚持
We'll
生态
continue
优
to
先、
put
节约优先，
environment and energy
落实碳达
efficiency
峰碳
front
中
and
和的目标
center,
任务，
implement the
加
tasks
大
and goal
建筑
of
节能、
carbon
绿色
peaking and
建
carbon
筑
neutrality,
和绿色建造的推广力度，
make greater
加快
contributions
城乡
to
建设、
promoting energy
绿色低碳
conservation,
转
green
型
building,
发
and
展，
green construction,
让中国建造贴上绿色的标签，
and make China
为建设
construction
美丽
greener
中国贡献力量。谢谢。
and contributing our strength to building a beautiful China. Next question, please.
我们时间关系，最后一个问题吧。
In the
房
interest
和
of
城乡
time,
的
last
事业因为
question.
每个人都息息相关，大家都非常关注啊。没有得到提问机会的记者，还可以继续向住房城乡建设部咨询。
If you do not have the opportunity to propose your question on this occasion, please feel free to contact the ministry after the meeting.
谢谢发言人。21世纪经济报道记者提问。
21st century economic outlook. Since the establishment of the system of housing provident fund, more people have benefited from this scheme. How has this system been improved? And what is the role played by the system of housing provident fund?
谢谢你对我们工作的肯定和表扬啊。
Thank you
住房公积金制度确实这几年发挥
for your positive comment
重要的
on
作
our
用。
work,
这个问题
and
最
the
后一个
system
问题嘛
plays an
留
important
给我
role.
们部里边的新闻发
And I
言
would
人
like
王胜军同志
to
大家做
invite our spokesperson,
今
Mr.
天
Wang,
最
to
后一个问
take
题
this
啊，由我
question.
来回答，对我是极大的一个荣幸。谢谢你的提问，也谢谢主持人，
And
谢
thank
谢
you
部长。
for your
那么我
question.
下面简单的介绍一下
And
这个问题。
I would like to briefly answer the question.
在上海率先建立，
Since 1991, the system was established in Shanghai.
而产生的。
It was put in place in the reform of urban housing system. It is designed to collect and use funds for employees'
应
housing.
当说，过去10年，
In the past 10
这项制
years,
度稳步发展，
the
惠及
system
的群体
has
是
seen
逐步扩大的，
steady
制度的红利
improvement,
也是持续释放的，保障
and
基
the
本住房
benefit
的功能
has been
日益的
released
凸显。
continuously,
我
and
想
it
用
serves
3句
to
话
guarantee
来这个概括
people's
这个事
basic housing needs.
第一句就是涓涓细流，百川入海，
First,
惠及
it
资金为
accumulates
安居。
funds
那么过去
for
10年
housing.
公积金的覆盖面
In the past
不断
decade,
扩大，
the
资金的
coverage of
规
the
模
fund has
持
been
续增长。
expanded, and the
我们
scale
全国
has
实
continued
缴
to
的人
grow.
数从
The number
1.02
of
亿
people
人增
paying
长
in
1.64
increased
亿人，
from 102 million to 164 million. The total amount paid in increased from 5.04 trillion yuan to 22.5 trillion yuan, and the balance increased from 2.68 trillion yuan to 8.18 trillion yuan. In 2021, the proportion of employees in non-public
同
institutions
时啊，
reached
100多万灵活就业人员也参与了住房公积金制度。
and over 1 million people in flexible employment have participated in the
港澳台
scheme.
同胞
We
缴
also
存
support
使用
Hong
住房
Kong,
公积金
Macau, and Taiwan compatriots
那么第二句
working
就
in the
是取
mainland
之于民，
to
用之于民，
participate in the
便
scheme.
利服务，暖人心。
Second, the fund is
我们支持
collected
租
from
房
the
与购
people
房，
and used
双
for
翼
the
齐
people,
飞，帮助
providing
职工解决
accessible
住房问
services.
题。
We support
过去
both
10年，
renting and
全国
purchasing
累
to
计
meet
提取住
people's
房公
needs.
积金
Over the past decade, a total of 12.44 trillion yuan has been withdrawn from the fund, and altogether 2,736 applications for loans have been approved, with a total volume of 10.28 trillion yuan, among which 80% are for buying the first home. 341 fund centers have a comprehensive service platform. Many procedures can be done cross-province without visiting the center and 24/7. And the nationwide transfer platform for the fund has been launched. The account and money can travel with the depositor wherever they go in China. 4.19 million transfers have been handled, with a total volume of over 100 billion yuan. In May last year, our mini app was launched. It has provided info query services for 67 million participants. Third, we guard against risks in the fund's operation. We have put in place an internet plus supervision model. We have improved the system so that we can discover the problems online and address them immediately. And we also combine internal risk control and external supervision. The ministry, we work with the Ministry of Finance and PBOC to release the balance sheet of the fund since 2015. This is also the same when it comes to local governments. And going forward, we will continue to develop the system, benefit businesses and people, and make our contribution to meeting housing needs of our people. Thank you.
And you were listening to Chinese officials briefing the media on China's measures and achievements.